Hey guys, welcome back. It's Maverick here today with another episode of Monogatari Mondays, which, by the way, is actually on Monday for a change. Woo! Alright, so we are now in the grand finale of the Owarimonogatari season, or at least I do believe this is season 1, right? And the end of this Shinobu male arc, which it's kind of a foregone conclusion, right? Considering this is going back into the past, and we clearly know where Araki and Shinobu are going to end up at the very end of all this, considering, time continues on, right? The story continues on. But still, I think it's kind of poetic in a way, since, even without knowing that this is happening in the past, I think it's quite clear what the decision here, or the implied decision here is already from Shinobu. But hey, that's kind of the moral of this entire story, right? Even if the implication is already there, even if it is, how can I put it, an obvious truth already, or an obvious fact, sometimes even stating the obvious is what is needed, just to get it out there in order to gain some closure. So with that in mind, let's get into it, and hey, maybe we will even get a good fight out of it yet. Alright, let's begin in 3, 2, 1, play. Oh. Huh. I kind of forgot about this. Did this show? I actually don't quite remember this. Did they phone call before the finale? Heavy feelings. Mm. Hmm. This is surprisingly profound in a lot of ways, in quite a mature way of handling this situation in question, I have to say. Oh. This is definitely not a relationship between two high schoolers. Yeah, that is way mature beyond the years. Although, putting that aside, maybe you can make the argument between Hanekawa and Aragi as well, right? There are some parallels to this situation as well, I feel. Hmm. No, just because of that conversation, my I have to say, my evaluation of Senjugahara just went up by quite, quite a few points. Oh, wipe it off. Yep. I don't really think. Alright, never mind. Like, don't get me wrong, on a fundamental level, you can look at this from a very romantic kind of way, right? I mentioned this last episode already, fighting for their girl, like, their girl. But at the same time, yeah. Really. I know he could just kill Aragi first and then take out the sword and then whack him. Eight? No. Yeah, that already happened a few seasons ago. Ooh. うん、good answer. Mm.
すぐそばまで来ておきながら、どうして我らが主キスショットは姿を見せん。そんなにキスショットは拙者に会いたくないのかの。荒らぎ殿、どう思う？拙者とお主とのいざこざはキスショットにとっては心底迷惑なだけなのかの。お主にとっては荒らぎ殿、この決闘はどういう意味を持つ？僕にとっての意味はお前にはわからないよ。
So, Kerdix. Oh, okay. He's explaining.
選ばれてないかもしれない。お前の代わりは誰にもできなくて、僕の代わりは誰にでもできるのかもしれない。だけどな、お前は僕にはなれないよ。僕の代わりはいくらでもいるけれど、僕は僕しかいないから。お前は僕じゃないし、僕はお前じゃない。
I mean, that's true, but like, that doesn't really answer the question. Ah, okay. I'm not gonna be a downer. Let's just watch the end of it. Shinobu, you better show your face. I mean, now we can just take up the sword and dunk him on the head. Yeah. But isn't he a little bit too weak to be the first? Like, just like that? Shinobu? Question mark? Hmm. There we go. Right, that's his name. I think it was mentioned before, right? Hmm. Oh yeah, we were recounting events with her, right? Right. A few seasons ago. There's still remnants?
それが何か重要なのかい？
だってその鎧もまた初代飼い殺しの血肉であり骨身でしょ。だったらその鎧をドロドロに溶かして、そしてその上で鍛造すればさらにもう一振り作れるかもしれないじゃないですか。同等心当たりが、どころかあわよくば木立夢渡りも。
夢渡り？
私がもしガエンさんだったら忍さんに食べられてしまう前に鎧は回収する。
But wouldn't that mean...
案外エピソード君はそのために
Wouldn't that mean he can still reincarnate?
そんなことをする理由がないだろう。
As long as some essence of him is still there?
確かそうだった気がする。
では私の方からお一つだけ荒木先輩の疑問にお答えしておきましょう。
僕の疑問？僕の疑問って何？
獅子類聖四郎、それが初代飼い殺しのフルネームです。荒木先輩もやっぱり恋敵の名前はちゃんと認識しておきたいでしょ。話は偶然聞かせてもらったよ。お兄ちゃん、あの子にはなんだかゆるいよね。口軽すぎない？
そうか？別にそんなことないと思うぜ。
お兄ちゃんがいいならそれでいいんだけどね。
今から北白蛇神社に行くつもりなんだけど、一緒にどう？
どこだいそれ。
忘れてんじゃねえよ。いろいろ忘れすぎだろ。
Oh yeah, she's staying at his house right now. I almost forgot about that setting.
ただそれで言うなら僕にも教えてほしいことがある。
なんだい？
お兄ちゃん、吸血鬼になって幸せ？初代飼い殺しがそんなことを言っていたじゃない。お兄ちゃんが忍先生と共にあることで俺にどんないいことがあるのかって。結局その場でお兄ちゃんは彼にとってのメリットを提示することはできなかったわけだけれども、その気持ちは今でも変わらない。お兄ちゃんが忍先生と共にあることで誰も幸せになっていないと今も思ってる。
今も思ってる。誰も幸せにならないし、誰も幸せになれない。僕が吸血鬼であることで、僕が忍と一緒にいることで、みんなに迷惑しかかけられない。誰よりも忍を不幸にしてしまっている。
言い訳のようにも聞こえるけれどね。幸せにならないから勘弁してください。幸せになろうとなんかしないからどうか許してください。どうか見逃してくださいと言っているようにも、僕たちはこんなに不幸なんだから責めるなよ、かわいそうだろって主張しているようにも。
I mean, it did lead you to meeting a lot of people though.
そういうのを世間では何もしていないって言うんだよ。不幸なくらいで許されると思うな。ハッピーエンドを目指すべきだ。また顔を踏んであげようか。
厳しいな、おののきちゃんは。
不幸で居続けることは大変。
Especially since we had that earlier arc talking about being happy, right?
自殺した先駆者も報われまい。
聞いておくよ。誰も幸せになっていない。僕も忍も誰一人。だけどひょっとしたら今よりずっと先、はるかはるか未来、例えば400年後とかにはその考え方も少しは変わっているかもしれないと、そんなことを思いながら、なに幸せではなくとも幸いなことに時間はまだまだ腐るほどある。時間だけは考える時間も生きる時間もうんざりするほど、死体が腐って灰になるくらい。
Who is he going to meet before the very end here?
そんな時間がなくなるのも、あるいは時間の問題なのかもしれなかった。
Sendagara or Shinobu? No one? Really? Alright. Well, I guess that's why there's a season 2, right? I'll see you guys after this. Well, alright guys, that was the end, of the first core, or first season, I guess you could say, of Owarimonogatari. Now, I do realize there is a second core, or second season, depending on how you want to look at it, which I believe comprises of another 7 episodes before we get into Zoku Owarimonogatari. So, we will be doing that as well. In the meantime, let's just first talk about this episode, right? There's maybe 4 points I want to bring up as topics of discussion here, or points of interest, I guess you could say. Number one would definitely be the we're going in chronological order here. So number one would definitely be the conversation that Aragi had with Zenjugahara before everything happened, right? It was nice to hear her voice again. I'm not quite sure if they actually showed this or implied this scene back in Tsubasa Tiger, right? I don't recall it, but then again, that was so long ago, I might have forgotten about it. And like I said, the contents of the conversation were actually quite interesting. And again, this is a I feel like this is a sort of mindset that is definitely way beyond their age here. It's typically a mindset that you only see once once you have some years on you, and also once you have some relationships under you, and not all something that you would expect somebody in high school or on their first serious relationship is actually thinking of, right? The concept that, yeah, there is no Mr. Right, there is no Mrs. Right, there is no so-called true love, and whatnot. There is no one and only. It's a constant back and forth, right? Relationships are meant to be maintained, and you could look at it from a more optimistic point of view and consider that maybe the definition of true love or soulmate might be that person who is willing to continuously better themselves for the other party, right? Or something of that sort. I do feel like there is a way to look at it without it being so cold and calculating and whatnot, because obviously if you just look at it on the surface, it seems that you're just shopping for the best potential candidate or the best potential suitor, right? And that definitely sounds not really romantic at all. It'd be like, oh, this guy is a millionaire, so I'm latching on to him for right now. But then if a billionaire comes along, then I'm going to go with that, something of that sort. Or maybe this girlfriend that I have, looks are a 7, but now that if I meet someone whose looks are an 8 or 9, then I will instead get them instead, right? It's obviously that is a mindset into it, but I feel like because people are complicated, right? It's not so obvious. There's not just like a few metrics that you can look at and say, oh, because of these 3 metrics, this other dude or this other gal is higher, so I'm instantly going to go that. And humans are much more complicated than that. And honestly, I feel like there is absolutely no problem in going for somebody who is a complete, who fits the bill much better than what you had previously, right? It's there are no absolutes in life and love. I mean, just consider I feel like a good sort of example, in-universe example here would be Hanekawa and Araragi, right? You could argue that it was due to some misunderstandings or due to some misgivings that they missed their chance with each other. But on the other hand, were they really meant for each other if something as simple as that caused them to miss their chance with each other, right? It's really not a matter of oh, who is nicer or who has bigger press or stuff like that sort, but who is much more compatible with each other at that point in time, according to each of their needs, right? So I feel like that is that is absolutely true, and I do appreciate that conversation here, and once it does show. Compared to a lot of other stuff that's been in Monogatari so far, some stuff you could say is very vague and very, how can I put this? Very pretentious in a way. And this particular dialogue here, I don't think it's particularly deep, but it's definitely something I wasn't quite expecting from a series like this, right? So, I just wanted to point that particular conversation out as something that definitely left an impression on me. The second part obviously would be, or I guess maybe not obviously, but the part where Guyan was kind of riling Araki on, like, which girl are you gonna choose? Who are you going to go for, and stuff of that sort. Obviously, what Araki replied was quite quite good. Two thumbs up to him. But I do feel obligated to point out that none of them, beyond Shinobu, like none of them actually made an implicit request for help from Araki, right? If one of them did, I feel like Araki would definitely drop whatever it is to go help that girl instead. But as it stands, all three of them did not have any implicit request for help, and so Araki just did things in the most reasonable way. He's already here, he's going to take care of this situation, then he's going to the next one, then he's going to the next one, calculating odds and so on and so forth, right? I feel like that's kind of a non-issue, to be honest, considering everything. But just wanted to point that out because it's kind of one of the few times in this series where somebody has called out Aragi on his relationships with all these different girls and forcing him to choose one of them, right? Because even in the past, especially with especially between Hanekawa and Senjugara, Araki has never had to face that kind of situation either. No, I guess there was the situation with Ougi and Hanekawa, but that doesn't really count, right? So beyond that, the next one I guess you could say is hold on, let me think for a moment. Well, I guess the actual duel, right? The actual battle there. I still stand by what I said last episode. I understand the romance behind it. I understand that Araki wants to prove something and all that. I still feel like it is absolutely unnecessary here. And indeed, just as he said himself, right? There is only one Araki, there is only one Shishiro. It's not a point of who is going to be the better fighter or whatnot. That's not the criteria they're going for at all, right? I'm just gonna go out and say it. This duel, all things said, is just a result of Aragi wanting to prove himself, wanting to one-up himself versus the first due to jealousy. All right, that is it, pure and simple. If we make a parallel to a real-life relationship, right? Let's consider this. If it is actually, Aragi with his lover is actually Shinobu, right? His girlfriend is Shinobu, and Shinobu had an ex, right? And now this ex-boyfriend wants to come back and take her back again, right? It's really not a case where you're supposed to challenge your ex-boyfriend to a showdown of some sort, right? What a real relationship would be like would be to talk some sense, and by the way, for the boyfriend, which is Aragi, to talk some sense into Shinobu here, right? Not Kambaru, right? As much as I love their little conversation and all the righteous dialogue that put off in the last episode from Kambaru, it is Aragi's duty, right, or is it duty, responsibility, his right, I guess you could say, to talk this out with Shinobu and tell her to make a decision, make a choice, and face the problem head on, right? That's how it should be. Now, obviously, again, this is a sort of like a supernatural situation with aberrations and stuff, but that's just generally how things are supposed to go. And full credit to Shinobu, right? She did show up at the very end. I definitely would have lost a lot of respect for Shinobu if she did not show up at the very end there, but I do feel like that was kind of a given there, right? And so she showed up, said her say, and now Shishiro is supposedly in peace, right? Because again, I think this was a foregone conclusion anyways. It's just that we needed to have some actual closure. We needed to state the obvious here. And that is the situation that played out here as well. So that's the third thing here. And then the fourth thing would be in regards to Ononoki's conversation and dialogue with Aragi at the end there, in regards to his happiness, right? Now, that part definitely is another part where I feel Aragi is sort of, missing the big picture here or not being very forthcoming with all of this, right? Now, if he is only talking about the relationship between Shinobu and him, you know, and talking about happiness between them, you know, maybe I can totally see his point there. But again, I do feel like I have to remind people, or I, I guess not really remind, but point out that Araki would never be in this kind of situation here with his relationship with Senjugahara, with his relationship with Hanekawa, with his relationship with Shinobu, and you know all the other girls, and so on and so forth, if no, all of this did not happen, right? And I do want to question, like, Araki, deep down in your heart, do you really feel like you would give up all these relationships for the chance to turn back into a human and for none of this to happen in the first place, right? And I think that pretty much rests my case. And so yeah, not quite sure like what that kind of sentimental or self-doubt thing was all the way back there. So let's just put mooping Araki aside for now, right? I mean, I maybe some people do consider Araki to be their hero, or you know, mostly relate with him and whatnot. I think I've stated quite clear throughout all these Monogatari episodes up to this point that Araki is someone that I definitely find intriguing, but a lot of times I definitely don't quite relate to in any sort of way. In a lot of his decisions and thinking and whatnot. And I do hope people know that that should be okay, right? You're not supposed to project yourself too much into the main protagonist here. So yeah, that's number 4, and I guess number 5 would be in regards to the entire Ougi situation. Now, I really don't think we got much. I was actually expecting a lot more in regards to maybe some of the mysteries behind Ougi, you know, what she is. We definitely got to know her a little bit better throughout the entirety of Owarimonogatari, but you know, definitely still has a lot to be said. And even at this point, we still have absolutely no clue what exactly she is plotting, what she is planning, what her ulterior motive is. Is she a friend? Is she a foe? Etc. Etc. Right. So not really too much else to talk about at this point. It's just that we need to just continue on with the next the next batch of episodes, and eventually on to Zoku as well. For the entirety of this first first season of Owarimonogatari, I like it, right? I do like it a lot. The entire Sodachi, I do have to say, I probably prefer the entire Sodachi arc compared to the Shinobu arc. You know, I was never a big fan of this entire kiss shot thing. You know, it does bring out most of the great fights and visuals and whatnot, but it's definitely always been something. Even though it's you can consider it the most fundamental thing to this series in a lot of ways, because you know, literally you know, back to my point 4, right? None of this would be happening if you know, Araki did not meet Kiss Shot, did not do all these things with Shinobu, and that is what led to all these situations. But if we are talking about the actual interpersonal relationships and so on and so forth, I have to say I vastly prefer all the other stuff. And in this case as well, you know, the entire Sodachi arc, yeah, I probably actually preferred that arc as well. And hey, everybody has their favorites. I get it. And to be honest, it's not even a case where maybe I prefer Sodachi over the others. It's just that entire arc and the questions that arise from it were definitely a lot more appealing to me. I guess you can't really say appealing, much more interesting to me, rather than this situation, which honestly, I've been saying up to this point is quite clear cut to me what should be done and what was done, right? So there we go. That is it for Owarimonogatari. So thank you guys, and as I said, I will be continuing on as well. Maybe I will take a 1-week hiatus or something, but you know, do stay tuned. We are continuing directly with the next few episodes of Owarimonogatari. Stay tuned, guys, and bye bye.